Hey everybody, Jeff here for POD Insights, the podcast and YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Etsy's new updated listing workflow. All right, so Etsy announced this update to the listing workflow in this article, which came out on March 16th, 2023. I will put a link to this article in the description if you want to check it out. Now, this new updated listing workflow has not rolled out to all seller accounts as of the date that I'm recording this, which is March 28th, 2023. I do have it in my shop, so of course we're going to take a look at it, but I have a second account that I use for the POD Insights channel for my tutorials, and that account does not have it yet. So you may not have been exposed to what it looks like at this point, but if you have, I have a couple things that I just want to point out. And specifically for us print-on-demand sellers, there is at least one thing that I want to make sure that you're aware of. Now, if you create your Etsy listings from scratch, for example, if you create combination listings where you make the listing on Etsy first and then you kind of sync them on the back end with your print-on-demand platform, then you will immediately see this new listing workflow when you click on the Create New Listing button from your shop's listing page. You should also see this blue banner at the top of the screen, which welcomes you to the new experience, but you also have a button, which I don't think is permanent, I'm pretty sure this is temporary, where you can switch back to the old version if you want to, as well as share feedback, and I'm probably going to be sharing some feedback. Now, the main difference is really just in the navigation experience that you have. There's really no new features here. It's just the organization or layout of them. So at the top, you still start with the About section, but one of the differences is that across the top, you have these sort of links that they look like they're going to be tabs. However, if you click on them, they just link you to further down on the page where that section is. So they're not really tabs. They don't take you to a different page. They just move around the navigation for you. So I do like that. I think that that's an improvement instead of always scrolling up or down, sort of endlessly looking for what you want. If you know that you want price and inventory, you can click on that and you go right there. Or if you want variations, you can go right there. But there are a couple of things that I think you need to be aware of, especially as a print-on-demand seller. So when you're creating a listing from scratch like this, where you have to put everything in, under the details section, there's a section that now is called the core details. That name is new. I don't think that was in the old listing layout. But what's in there is actually stuff that you're already familiar with. So if you click on Add Core Details, this is where you indicate whether it's a physical or a digital item, and this workflow is not available yet for the digital items. If you sell digital items, you're still going to be using the old workflow until they release the capability to do that in the new workflow. But this is also where you indicate those details about who made it, what it is, and when was it made, as well as if you have any production partners for it. So they've grouped all of that together in what they now call the core details. And if you're creating it from scratch, this is fine because it's a required section. If you forget, if you kind of scroll past it and not realize what it is, you won't be able to publish this without actually adding those core details, so you'll have to go back there and click on this and fill it out. However, if you don't create your listings from scratch on Etsy and instead you publish listings from your print-on-demand platform, this is where I think you could actually hit a little bit of a snag on your listings, or not a snag, but you could overlook something by accident without realizing that you're missing it. So for example, here's a listing that I just pushed to my Etsy shop from Printify, and so it comes through with most of the details already completed. If this is the workflow that you use, then you're already very familiar with which sections still need to be completed and which ones you don't have to touch. So it would be very easy to either click through or scroll through these sections and go right past this detailed section, because once this is partially completed, right here under the core details, see how it says physical item now? It looks like there's nothing else to do here. It would be very easy to just scroll right past this. There's the category. Now here's some more attributes. I probably want to fill out a couple more of these things. Now here's our tags, and then we're onto the shipping profile. So it would be easy, I think, to scroll right past that section and not click on it. But there's still information there that you need to update. So let's go back to core details and click on change. We're not going to change it from physical item, of course, but the default entries here for who made it, what is it. So you need to change this to another company or person. And it was very easy to do with the old listing workflow because it was just right there on the page. Now you have to click on that button to open this pop-up to actually change this. Now it is still a finished product and it is made to order. So those two things are correct. But we also, at the bottom here, have to select the production partner. So we have to go in here and I'm going to select Printify for this one. Now I'm actually done with these core details and I can click on apply. and move on to finish the rest of my listing. But that's one thing that I thought that would be really easy to overlook in this new workflow if you're a print-on-demand seller. So if you're publishing from your print-on-demand platform, definitely keep an eye out for that core details section and update that with each new listing that you publish. The other section that I think is a little less efficient is in the shipping profile section, because before, if you remember, there was a list, an embedded list that displayed all of your shipping profiles. And if you needed to change it from the one that it was published with, you could just scroll through that list and select a radio button to change the shipping profile. But now, if you need to do that, you have to click on Change Profile, another button that brings up a pop-up, and now you have to scroll through this pop-up and change the shipping profile that was already applied to this listing. And the same would be true if you're creating from scratch. You're going to have to click on the button to apply a shipping profile and select one in the pop-up instead of having them all displayed right there on the screen. Now, at the bottom in the settings, this information has been rearranged a little bit from the old layout or the old organization. Got your returns and exchanges. By default, I have my shop apply the no returns or exchanges. The things that moved are the shop section. So the section is now at the bottom here in the settings section. And then your renewal options, manual or automatic, are also now, they're the very last option that you have in the list here, as well as your feature the listing option or your Etsy ads option. So all of those things are now grouped together at the very bottom in the settings section of the listing. One tiny detail that I do really appreciate that I think is a nice little change is in the bottom left corner of the screen or of the listing area. They actually sort of keep a tally for you of things that you have changed and haven't saved yet. Now, as far as the variations section go, I have not found any indication that there are any changes to the way that we create combination listings. If you do that with your print-on-demand business, if you create custom variations, there's still a Manage Variations button here. There's still the ability for you to add 2 separate variations and vary the prices, quantities, and SKUs for each of those variations. And you can edit or delete and replace the 2 variations that are there. You can make your own. So I don't see anything that's really changed with that process. This was already a pop-up window. It just looks a little bit different. But as far as functionality goes, I don't see a difference there if you create your combination listings this way. So that's really it. I just wanted to point out that this new listing workflow is rolling out if you don't already have it, and just point out those couple of things that I think are a little less efficient. Maybe it's possible that you might miss them in the workflow if you're a print-on-demand seller, especially because a lot of this information comes over pre-populated if you publish from your platform, but it's still going to be important for you to go through and click on a couple of those sections to make sure that they're correct. Let me know in the comments if you run into anything else that is significantly different from a print-on-demand workflow standpoint, or if you see anything that now it looks like we can't do that we used to be able to do before. Now, there are some other exciting new features that should be rolling out later this year that Etsy alluded to in that article, including this bullet point right here. Let me zoom in on this because this would be major news. I mentioned this in the community tab of the channel. I also mentioned it in my most recent podcast. Over the next few weeks, we'll be rolling out the following features: domestic and global pricing for your listings. If that really means that we'll be able to set different product prices for different regions or countries, that would be a huge improvement for us. It would just be way easier if this actually comes true in the next few weeks and we can differentiate product prices by country. I will absolutely make a video about that if it does come true and we actually get that feature. So be sure to subscribe to the POD Insights channel if you want to be notified if that video actually comes out. Hopefully it does. Thank you to all subscribers. I really do appreciate your support. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.